He served He served as the president of Rotary International of the year 2018 to 19. As president, he toiled hard to strengthen the public image and the use of digital tools to maximize the Rotary's reach. Those who want to know what good Rotary clubs do will want to be a part of it. And we must find new models for membership that allows all interested in our mission to participate. Says this man of great virtue and honors, Rotarian, past Rotary International President Barry RASIN. We are very much honored to have you as our keynote speaker, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Over to you, Raj.
Thank you so much for the brief introduction, Protractor Swati. Over to you, Barry, for your talk.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Swati, for that nice introduction. It's a pleasure to be with you. Absolutely. Always enjoy talking with Rotaractors. You always are able to bring new ideas and a new way of thinking to our organization, and that's just so important for us. So the question on the table tonight is why elevate Rotaract, and how did we elevate Rotaract? Well, it all started back in 2017 when a couple of us started thinking about the fact that we have a lot of these young individuals like yourselves who are doing fantastic work in the Rotary world, and yet are not considered at the same level as a Rotarian. The Rotaract was a problem of, sorry, not a problem, a program of Rotary International. And as a program, it fits into a different place than Rotary clubs. So some of us started talking with the board of directors, how do we change this? And we need to have Rotaractors at the table with us to share their ideas, to share their thoughts, to give us their idea of what Rotary should be and what would entice them to join Rotary clubs when the time is ready for them. We needed that change to make. We, as you know, we keep talking about 1.2 million Rotarians, and now the language has changed. So we talk about 1.4 million members in the Rotary world, which is great, but we haven't changed those numbers in 20 years. And while other service organizations have reduced their numbers, we've been stable. Some would say that's good, but the reality is we're not growing. We need to grow. One opportunity to grow is to make sure that every Rotary club is relevant to young professionals like yourselves. If we are relevant to you, then you're going to want to join a Rotary club in your area. And in that way, you continue with Rotary, you continue doing the good work, and we as an organization can do even more to help make our world a better place. That was the essence of why we wanted to elevate Rotaract. Then the question is, how do we do this? In what manner? We had to start from scratch to figure out how do we put Rotaract on the map of Rotary and make sure that they truly are included and feel respected. Really important to what we were doing. So the board put together an item for the Council on Legislation for 2019. We did that about a year ahead. Once we'd written it, got it onto the agenda, because as you know, for the COL, we have to have those items in a year ahead of time. Meantime, we were working on adjusting and fixing and how do we do this. So we actually made some changes to the item before it went to the council. And I think we did a really good job of a comprehensive change to the bylaws and constitution. And we took that to the Council on Legislation in 2019. Well, while I had the opportunity to present it because I was president, and I wanted to make this personal, so I was able to present it, and the council actually rejected it. Fortunately, I and others went on our social media to all of you and said, please help us get to your representative who's there from your district and let them know they need to change this. They need to make sure that Rotaract is elevated. You did that, many did that, and the next morning, the way the rules are, somebody who voted against it had to bring it up for another vote. They did. I had another opportunity for 5 minutes to talk about why. And this time they voted in favor, 75% in favor of elevating Rotaract. Now, this changed many parts of our bylaws and constitution. The most important being that Rotaract clubs become members of Rotary International, which is just like a Rotary club. So we're on the same level. It also put a responsibility on each district governor to visit all Rotaract clubs, just like they do Rotary clubs. And there were many other parts of the bylaws that had to change. And since then, we've then had to look at, okay, now we've got the bylaws and constitution like that. What in our policies don't match what we've approved in our constitution? So since that time, we've changed many policies along the way, and some of which I'll cover now. The board, that was in the spring of 2019. By October of that year, the board had a discussion on it and said we need to do a number of things to continue that equality to Rotary. And again, to make you appreciate that we respect you as individuals, you as Rotaractors, you as members of the organization. So the first thing they did is take, okay, why do we have a maximum age? And by the way, a lot of this came from our Rotaract committee and from meetings I'd had with Rotaractors around the world. And getting your input helped us as an organization to make change. So the first thing was to let's remove the maximum age of 30. And we did that, the board did that. That, as Rotarians always challenge what we do, some 60-year-olds decided that they're going to join a Rotaract club. But keep in mind, the intent here was that you join Rotaract from 18 to 30, but you could stay as long as the Rotaract club felt it was appropriate. And hopefully until you're ready to join a Rotary club. The idea is that you've begun your journey. You might have been on Interact, you've been in Rotaract University, then in Rotaract Community, and then Rotary. That's your journey because you want to make change in the world. Again, part of the why was the fact that you didn't like to go to a boring club. There are some clubs meet at a time when you can't meet. So you wanted to be exciting and enjoy your club. You didn't want to meet more than you did service. So we had to make those kind of adjustments in our policies, which we've done a lot of. We also said if we're going to help Rotaract to continue what you do, we needed to have a budget in place to have some funds. To do that, the board approved having a dues structure, $5 for a university, $5 per member per year for university-based, $8 per member per year for community-based. Was to start July of this year, but they hadn't finished part of the job, which I'll come back to. So they've now postponed that till January of next year, so in a couple of months. The idea was part of those policy changes was also to make our website, Rotary.org, and our ability to work on it at My Rotary equally available to you as it is to Rotarians. Again, equality is all about you being able to do whatever a Rotary member can do. So we made those changes. The changing the website, changing the My Rotary has taken time. We're right at that point right now where we need Rotaractors to go in there and give us your information. As we have your information, you'll then start getting in communication directly from Rotary International. So again, just like Rotarians can, Rotaractors can, but we really need you to go online and give us your email addresses so that we can contact you. That is critical. So as I said, we've approved a lot of the policies. We understand the why. One thing I have to remind Rotarians or others who come back and say, well, you're just trying to get rid of Rotaract clubs and make them Rotary clubs. Absolutely not. We need a Rotaract club in place from 18 to 30 or whatever the club feels, because your dynamic will encourage other people of the same age to join our organization. If we just call them everybody Rotary clubs, you lose your personality. That's the one thing we didn't want to do, is lose Rotaract personality. We need you to be there with your youth, your enthusiasm, your innovative ideas to continue. But we also want you to stay with Rotary as you age out of Rotaract. So that's really critical. So while we've done really well at changing a lot of the change of bylaws, change the constitution, change our code of policies, even changing our website in My Rotary. That's all the formal stuff that's actually easier to do. Although I have to tell you, those changes have happened faster than any change I've seen in Rotary, which tells you the kind of support that is out there to elevate Rotaract. Most Rotarians feel this is a really good move for us to get more ability to work with our Rotaractors. That being said, we still have one weakness, and that's changing the culture of our Rotary clubs and changing the culture of some Rotaract clubs. It's really important that they both work together. So my message to Rotary clubs is you need to spend some time, go to the Rotaract club you started and spend some time getting to know them, because a lot of this is about relationships. And the more they get to know you as Rotaractors, the more they're going to say, yes, you need to come into our club. And by the way, now I need to listen to a Rotaract and Rotaract tell the Rotarians what they need to change in their club to make it more relevant to the young professionals. Because that's a major culture change that we need to make. In some parts of the world, the average age of Rotary is 80 years old. Very hard for that club that's average age of 80 to be relevant to somebody in their 20s or 30s. So they need to think a little differently about what they're doing and how they're doing it. One way to do that is to spend time listening to you and your ideas as to what could be done different. And I think that improves our organization significantly once we get there. But as you know, changing culture is much more difficult than changing policy. We'll get there, but it's going to take us more time. And when you change your culture in the Rotary clubs, Rotaract clubs also have to be more willing to take that risk, if you will, to join a Rotary club and help them to change. You can help us a lot by just talking to us, being part of us, and talking about what could be done differently that would make it more enticing for young professionals. That's a big help. Now, we've also made change, so a Rotaract club, you can start your own Rotary club. You don't need to wait for the older Rotary club to welcome you and make change. Just start your own Rotary club, or even start another Rotaract club. But starting a Rotary club, get some of the members who are aging out of Rotary or Rotaract, they're ready to move on, don't see a Rotary club, so start one for you guys. And all you need now is 8 members to start a satellite club and 25 to start a Rotary club. I'm sure you know that many people that you can get started, and that way you grow. One of the drivers of Rotary International is to start new clubs. Why? Because a club that's got 20 members who are all in their 80s, they're not going to start a new club. They're probably not going to be willing to change. So let's start a club right next door so that we can start to get the next generation involved in Rotary, doing the good work of Rotary. Wherever I went and talked to Rotaractors, while there is always frustration of working with Rotary, the one thing that I've heard consistently is you really like the fact that Rotary is changing the world. Rotary as an organization does more humanitarian service than any other organization on the planet. And you want to be a part of that. Totally understand. But you also want to do it your way. And that's good. We have certain basic values we have to stick to, don't get me wrong. But we should be more flexible to do service that we do, to do good in whatever ways you're comfortable with doing it. That's really important. I mean, As an organization, I mentioned we have 1.4 million members now, and the language has changed. In many parts of the world now, they're talking 1.4 million, not 1.2, which means they've accepted that Rotaract now is an equal member of the organization. That's significant culture change by itself. Last year, we did 47 million hours of service around the world. Now, there's no other organization that's got that much hands-on working to make our world a better place. That's phenomenal. We spend in grants from the Rotary Foundation $333 million in communities around the world. And by the way, as long as I'm here and I'm with you, I need to congratulate you because you are the strongest Rotaract group in the world. You have the most members as a region. I'm working hard with the United States, trying to get them to do better because they don't have the numbers they should have. You've set an example, you've led the way, and I ask you to keep doing that. Leading the way means helping us to change the culture. There's many of us who will do anything we have to help you to change that culture with clubs and with Rotarians, to reach out and listen to you and to do things differently. You know, it's a good thing to be different, and you can help us do that. As I said before, you're creative, you've got an enthusiasm, and you're also very honest. I find Rotarians will be nice and tell me good things, but Rotaractors, they tell me the facts, as they like them or don't like them. And that's good. We need that. We need that honest communication between us so we can make the organization better. So I'm going to leave it there, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you for that brief about how it happened and why you like us Rotaractors the most. Thank you for that, Barry. So we have a few questions. So the first question being, what's your take on membership dues? Basically, the question is like the follow-up question on the same is that region-wise, there could be challenges wherein $5 or $8 could be costlier. So what's your take on the membership dues? Is it little higher or average or low, or how about the region-wise factors? So that's the question, Barry.
Yeah, the one issue with dues is you have to make it consistent around the world. And I realize in some parts of the world, $5 has a value that's greater than other parts of the world. Totally understand that. But you have to be consistent. We do the same with Rotary dues. A Rotary member, no matter where they are in the world, they pay the same number. No matter what the currency exchanges are, pay the same number. And we have the same questions from parts of the world. We can't afford that. What do we do different? And if we change for one country, we then have to look at every country. And there's just no way we can handle that. So we have to do that. The 5 and 8 was set by the board for this. And by the way, it's set by the board following a survey of Rotaractors who responded to what the dues should be. And they're the ones who set those numbers for us. And that's where the board got $5 and $8. The idea that you have to have some kind of dues serves two purposes. One, it allows us to put some funds aside as a budget to help Rotaract as an overall organization. The other, it brings commitment from the individual. If I'm paying something to be a member of an organization, then I'm committed to that organization. I'm committed to not just using the name, but also to being there and being dedicated to what that organization does. So it really serves two purposes. So while I sympathize with the challenge in some parts of the world, I know this is something we need to do. And that's the reason the board gave two and a half years for Rotaract to get ready for it, so that Rotaract clubs could talk about how to do that when the time comes. And hopefully everybody has taken that time and used it wisely to figure that out. So that's my thoughts on the dues.
Thank you for that, Barry. Again, a follow-up question on the same. Do you think the difference in the sense for community clubs and institution clubs, there is a difference, $5 and $8. Do you think it will stay or in the meantime, it might become common for all the Rotaractors? What's your take on that?
As far as the dues becoming common amongst all Rotaractors?
Yes, the difference of 5 and 8, would it become the same for both community and institution?
I don't see that as happening at all. It's recognized that there is a fundamental difference between university-based clubs and community-based clubs. And the fact is, when you're a student, we want to give you every assistance we can as a student to get through what you're doing. And that's why that was set at a lower rate. And I'm sure that would stay at a lower rate than the community-based. Also with university-based, in many parts of the world, the university-based, they come in, they join Rotaract, they're there for 4 years, and then they move. And many of them don't then join another Rotaract club. So it's a short term in general. Whereas the community-based is a much more of an opportunity to stay longer term with the club and to join Rotary when they're ready with their career and their family. So we see a significant difference between the two in most parts of the world. We even talked about, should we actually separate them and not just lump them all into Rotaract? But we didn't want to do that. So but that was a discussion we had. So that's my take on that.
Thanks again. We have another question regarding the RI committee. As Elevate Rotaract is happening very soon, do you think the opportunity for Rotaractors in RI committees would increase, or what's your take on that?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't mention this, but I should have. Part of our drive is to have at least one Rotaractor on every single committee within Rotary International. So whether it's Rotary International or the Rotary Foundation, we want a Rotaractor to be at the table with us. And we've done really well with that. Probably 95% of our committees have a Rotaractor appointed. And Rotaractors who are at that level need to let Rotarians, district governors know that they're interested in that kind of positions and what your background is, so we know where you can go. But I see that happening more and more. I see that at some point going from one Rotaractor to two. I noticed at our foundation trustee meeting, we did not have a Rotaractor. So I've made the request to have a Rotaractor sit at that table. At the board meeting last year, I know they did. I'm not sure if they've continued or not, but I'm talking to Jennifer Jones to make sure that continues. Beyond that, we're also talking to districts. Every Rotary district should have Rotaractors on their district committees. One way for you to get elevated to international committees is by having some exposure and experience with district committees. So we've asked them to do that. And in some parts of the world, we now have Rotaractors who are actually assistant governors. So they're in strong leadership positions in the district. We've also told the districts, this isn't a time for you to just bring in Rotaractors to do the work. It's time to put Rotaractors in leadership positions. So put them on a committee as co-chair so that they really are in leadership positions. We've also seen districts that have, at a district conference, they might give a segment to the Rotaract clubs. You go run that any way you want, whatever speakers you want. And that's really been successful. I went to one like that in Mexico, and that was a year or so ago. And that was the best part of an institute that I was at that year. And I keep reminding Rotarians to do that so that you not only get the positions, but you get the opportunity for leadership. And that's really, I feel that our responsibility is to help you to develop your leadership skills. That means putting you in positions where you can be a leader. And so we're pushing that hard. So we're doing really well with that. And I think you're going to continue to see that grow.
Thank you, Barry. And we do have another question. So, as we have seen, as our experience in South Asia, we have seen a lot of Rotaractors are not yet aware about the grants, the Rotary Foundation, not fully aware. So, according to you, on an average, how long would it take for the Rotaractors or Rotaract movement to get used to all these new things, what Rotary experiences? What would be the time that you think it might need it?
It will not take you long because it's already approved that Rotaract clubs can apply for global grants. That being said, they've got to be certified. So you can be certified as a club by going on our learning center and taking the course on certifying a club for global grants. It's really that easy. Make sure the district governor is aware of what you're doing so that they support it. But the learning center today is so much better than it was 5 years ago. They've done an incredible job. And you now have access to all of those programs. And we have a couple of hundred programs on there, one of which we organize with Toastmasters in order to help, again, develop your leadership skills. So there was 8 modules from Toastmasters just on leadership, public speaking, and that's an opportunity for you. But to get global grants, go on the Learning Center and take the course so that you can get certified as a club that can do grants. And then once you get that, talk to a Rotary Club and partner with a Rotary Club that's certified to start doing a grant. That really develops you as a club that has an opportunity, because remember now, you also have the opportunity to get the awards from the Rotary Foundation for what you're doing for the foundation. And those are significant awards too. So lots of opportunity, and it's available to you right now.
Okay. We have one question from PDRR Mukesh. He's the past president of SEARIC MDIO. Related to an MDIO, he wants to ask you a question. Over to you, Mukesh. I think you can unmute.
Actually, Barry, I have 2 questions with me. First one is like, we have our DG Select training programs in RI Assembly, right? So are we planning like our DRR elects also get the opportunity to attend the RI Assembly and they have their own training programs? I'm not talking about that selective DRR elects who are going to fill that form, and after the selection they'll get a chance to attend the RI Assembly. But like all the DG elects, for them it's like training program is there in RI Assembly. So are we planning something for our DRR elects also?
At this point, we don't have that possibility. And part of that is why by getting the dues and having that budget, we then would have an opportunity with funding to fund the DRRs to get that kind of training. Right now, there's just no funding for it. We did do it with selected 50 Rotaractors, but they've stopped that as well, which I can't say I'm happy about, but I didn't have that choice. They did stop that. Their argument was, by the way, now that Rotaractors are equal to Rotarians, then we don't need to do that. I disagree, but that's just me. I think it's really important that we enforce some kind of training for our DRRs because they are the leaders. And by the way, I think we ought to do our training for DGEs differently than we do it today. But as you can see, they don't listen to everything I say, but they do listen to some. What's important is we really train leadership skills. A great leader in a club, in a district, as a DRR, a great leader can make a gigantic difference. And a bad leader can also make a great difference. So if we have all good leaders as DRRs, then we can do so much more. So right now, the training for that falls to the districts. And what I've been asking districts to do as part of their district training, the president-elect training, they should have president-elect training and DRR training at the same time. Because they train assistant governors, let's train the DRRs, let's train the presidents all together, because then they get to know each other as well. So that to me is the opportunity, and some districts have started to do that. But I think that's where we really could benefit from training at this point in time.
So can we assume that RI is going to do some virtual training programs for our DRR elects?
At this point, I'm not aware of any that have been done. I'll have to look on the resource center to see if they've done anything specifically, but I don't believe so. But we have talked about it, and I know they want to develop them. They've developed some other things. So they've been using their resources to develop, as an example, when I became a trustee, they wanted me to take an orientation course on how to be a trustee. So they put those orientation programs together for the board and the trustees. But that's on the list of programs to do, but they haven't got there yet. But we will get there, because I will be watching until we do.
Thank you so much for this information. And Barry, as an past MDIO president, I have one more query. Like now, after the Elevate Rotaract, Rotaractors gets an equal chance to use the resources of Rotary.org, right? So now it's like where MDIOs are going to stand now.
I didn't get the question. The MDOs are like to what?
Where MDIOs are going to stand now. Now Rotaractors have they have the access for each and everything on the Rotary.org. So now what is the roles and responsibilities of our MDIOs, or what is the exact expectation of Rotary International from the MDIOs in the after the Elevate Rotaract?
I think that we're in discussion as to what role the MDIO plays. It's recognized that it's actually a very important role, because you become a regional organization for the Rotaractors in that part of the world. And you may or may not be aware that I've actually been using that concept to get Rotary districts to join together to become MDIOs for Rotary and create regional boards, because I think the regional concept is really important. Every region is a little different and needs to therefore be able to manage some of their own issues without having to go to the RI board. So I think an MDIO is a great opportunity for us to learn how it works and use it in the Rotary world and come up with a more, I hesitate with this, but I'd like to see a more structured view of exactly what an MDI should be doing and how, but I don't want to take away the flexibility either. So we've got to do that with a good balance so that you can do what you need to do, but yet there are certain basic things that Rotary could expect from it. But I think the MDIO serves an outstanding purpose. And that's just one of the things we haven't got to yet in the Elevate Rotaract process. But I've taken that and I've recommended to Rotary International Board that we create something like an MDO in the Rotary world. And we are now starting a pilot program in Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific Islands, which will look a lot like an MDIO. So I think what you've created in Rotaract is something, again, we've got to learn from you. And you got to learn from us sometimes. But you know, we got to learn from each other. And I think there's a lot of opportunities there.
One last thing, Barry. And as Rotaractors are gonna pay the RI dues, RI membership dues, so will RI be giving any membership certificate for the members? See, as we know, Rotaractors are like maximum the age bar of are like till 25 to 30. Okay, so it's like our we need the certificates for our professional thing, for our growth in our professional life. So is RI planning something for that?
Good question. I have not heard of a certificate for it. I will ask them if they would consider that, because they could give that to you online rather than trying to mail it, and you could print it. I think that's very doable. We don't, as a Rotarian, I don't get a certificate of membership in Rotary. My club, however, can give me a certificate from my club. But I haven't seen one of those in a long time. But let me go back to the staff and ask them if they could include that when they do the dues.
Thank you so much, Barry. And you are the best person with whom we can ask all these questions. Believe me. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks again for the questions, Mukesh. So I would like to know if anyone has any questions, kindly send it to me. Just in case if anyone has any questions. I don't think there are any more questions. We would like to thank Rotarian Barry again for accepting our invite and being here and being very interactive with us. So also guys, we have done a lot of R Connect session, and every time we invite a speaker, the most responsive and most active one who replies on mail and confirms very soon is Rotarian Barry. This has been our experience from many years. Thanks again for that quick response. So there's one question related to student exchange. They just want to know your personal opinion through Elevate Rotaract. Is there any opportunity of increase of student exchange, or how do you think that might change the student exchange?
It's definitely an opportunity. One thing we said, whatever benefits Rotaractors had before, well, we're going to create this equality with Rotarians. You should not lose any benefits. So if you had the opportunity to be on a student exchange, you still can do that. So that's still available. There's obviously been a pause, if you will, in the number of student exchanges because of the pandemic. But I think that's pretty much coming to an end now, so we can get back to it. So Rotaractors would have those opportunities to apply to get involved. And a lot of that comes from the districts again. So another reason why Rotaract clubs need to work with the districts and be a part of those decision-making opportunities.
Thank you, Barry. One last question I just got it. Now we have Rotaractors. I mean, Rotaract Club has an opportunity to start and sponsor an Rotaract Club. Do you think, I mean, we don't have an opportunity to sponsor an Interact Club actually, as of now. Do you think that might come into place soon, or will it be restricted only to the Rotary Club?
We actually really want to enable Rotaract to sponsor an Interact Club.
Yes.
The difficulties there are because they now become minors, they're underage. And so they're being very careful of how we can do that. There's a lot of programs we want to do, but because they involve minors, Rotary National is very cautious because we don't want to have an issue with that.
Thank you. I have got one more question. Is Rotary International planning for any tie-ups with South Asian universities for Peace Fellowship?
Interesting question. We just opened Makerere in Africa. That's the most recent one that's opened. We've been given a grant, a gift of $15 million to open one in the Middle East. And we have a committee that's looking at what country in the Middle East could that be in. I haven't seen, I know they've narrowed it down to 3 countries. It's got to be a country where anybody from any country in the Middle East can attend. But I haven't seen the final country as yet. I'm hoping they'll announce that in January. So I don't see that in South Asia as at this point in time, but there's going to be one really close to you somewhere in the Middle East.
Thank you for the information. We have one DRR, Rotarian Rotaractor, Joseph. He wants to ask a question. Can you just raise hand, Joseph, so I can unmute you?
No, I think Mukesh, PDR and Mukesh covered that question. So
go ahead, Joseph. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Raj. You can go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, the question was covered, he said. Okay, thank you, Joseph. Anyone, anything else you would briefly with Barry. We'll close off soon. Anything you can raise hand or any questions you can do. Haven't received any questions, so we'll move on with the vote of thanks. So I would like to thank first of all our great speaker and Elevate Rotaract champion Rotarian Barry for his time, and we did get a lot of information about how Elevate Rotaract could benefit all our Rotaractors and the Rotary organization as a whole. I would like to thank our MDIO President Rahul, past President Mukesh, Sneha for all the support in organizing and sustaining this OrConnect series. Also, Rotaractor Abhishek, who helped us with posters and designs. Rotaractor Swati, who did the intro of Rotarian Barry, and Rotaractor Asad, who helped us with all the technicalities. Not to mention Rotary 3160 for the Zoom platform provided. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. So thank you, Barry. Thanks again for being with us. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you. And thanks for all that you guys do to make your part of the world better as well as international. So thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Done.
Yeah, done. Asad, you can end the meeting. Asad,
Yeah.
you are the host.
And stop the recording also.
Yeah.